Welcome back to the show. As you know, we have so many great organizations here in this city that help out so many people. And the Youth Services Bureau, YSB, I can't say enough. The programs and services that they have in place are absolutely amazing, helping so many young people here in our community. And joining me to talk about that and, of course, a fabulous event they have coming up, I'm joined by Oliver Soner. He is the fundraising coordinator over at the YSB Foundation. Welcome, Oliver.
Thank you so much for having us.
Great to have you here.
Much appreciated.
Listen, I really mean it. I mean, you were speaking to one of my colleagues here, and what a change it made in you know, their family's life when they had to use, one of their daughters had to use the services. But just talk about the programs and services and what makes you so special over at YSB.
Yeah, of course. It's one of my favorite things actually working at YSB is the amount of people in the community that I meet and they just happen to say, oh, you know, I know YSB very well. And, you know, we always know exactly what that means. There's so many families in our community that have accessed our services and been supported by us. And when you talk about YSB, I mean, we do so much. It's tough to kind of wrap it up quickly for you, but I'll give you the high level on it. Okay. So we've got kind of 4 key program areas. So one of those is shelters and housing. We also do mental health services, we do employment services, and we do youth justice services. And across all those 4 key areas, we operate from about 20 different locations in the city. So we're very accessible. We're over 350 staff, and we actually support several thousand young people every single month in the city of Ottawa. So it's really a key community resource here in the city.
You know, I think when we see youth that are struggling, a lot of different images come to a lot of people's minds, and I'd like you to just talk a little bit about why some of these young people find themselves in circumstances they need to use these services.
Of course, and what's so interesting is it's an incredibly broad range of situations that can occur, and I don't think you can really dial it down to one thing, and it's so dependent on our programs as well. So when you look at, for example, shelters and housing, you know, the most common reason that people are going to be accessing those services are conflicts within their home. But when you look at something like mental health, it's going to be a totally different circumstance that might lead them to be able, or to be in a position to access YSB in that way. So it's a little bit difficult to break it down, but it's a bit of an idea.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You've got a great event coming up. It's the 10th year for Stay Up Ottawa. It's a virtual event coming up November 25th. Let's talk about this event and its importance to YSB.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year, so we're always really, really excited. And obviously, coming into year 10, it feels even bigger and more exciting. Like you mentioned, virtual event, and we're really looking forward to gathering hundreds of community leaders together to support our shelters and housing work in a virtual setting. And really what it's all about is just raising awareness and raising funds for our shelters and housing programming. And when you talk about what that looks like, we have people staying up for the night. That's why we call it Stay Up Ottawa. Right. And so, in a pre-COVID world, that looked like 700 people at Lansdowne and TD Field, all getting together. Unfortunately, as you know well, we're not in a world where we can go back to that quite just yet. So we're encouraging people to gather in a space, whatever's safe to them. So whether that's getting their team together in their backyard, heading up with their family to the cottage, camping out by themselves on their back deck, or even, if people feel safer, just going in their living room and setting up a campsite. Doesn't matter to us. What we're really, really passionate about is just, share our work, get on social media, engage your friends and family, and hopefully raise some money as well.
Well, and Oliver, you can speak to this at a personal level as well. Tell me about your personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So just, by chance, and because YSB does so much in the community, when I was in high school, I actually had the opportunity to participate in one of the first ever iterations of this event. And I actually have a little bit of a funny story to share about that. So, me and 3 of my closest friends in the world, we signed up for this event together, and we're actually to this day still incredibly close with those 3 guys. We chat almost every day. But what ended up happening was, as we got closer and closer to the event day, and as it's November 25th this year, it was kind of around that time then, I think my buddy started to realize, wait a second, it's going to be minus 10, minus 15 degrees when we're sleeping outside. And I think the event was Wednesday or Thursday, and Monday one of them, I'm not feeling so great, I don't know. And long story short, by the time we got to the actual event, I was the only one who ended up making it there.
You're kidding.
But I had gone up and down my street and raised these funds, and I was so passionate about it. I still went and I slept in the tent alone, which maybe sounds a little bit sad, but honestly it was a phenomenal experience. I met really, really great people, some classmates. I met our city councilor in that area, Jeff Lapier, had a great conversation with him just about fundraising in this world. And it's actually a little bit of what sent me down this path to do this work in the first place. So YSB is kind of part of my origin story, I guess.
So how does the fundraising portion of it work then?
Absolutely. So we've got a website. It's the first place to go if you want to get engaged. So that's stayopottawa.ca. When you get there, there's going to be a few different prompts. You can join a team, you can register your own, you can make a donation. Any of those is great with us. If you know someone who's got a team, feel free to hop in there. But I'd encourage you to start your own team as well. And even if you're a mighty team of 1, we get some of those for sure. And also, as you start reaching out to people, asking for donations, get engaged, you'll see that team really start to fill up quick. And then there's a little virtual event in the evening of where you can tune in and we have a bit of a broadcast.
Terrific. And you're really encouraging school participation. Listen, you mentioned in high school, that's where it started for you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, school participation and why you would encourage young people to get involved in this.
Absolutely, yeah. School is a huge part of what we do. And we actually have a youth cabinet as well that gets really involved with that. That's young people from a number of the high schools in the area.
Right.
And when we talk about a school version of YSB, there's a lot of different iterations of what that can look like. But really, it's just incorporating that, Stay Up ethos into an event that you have going on at your school. So it could go as far as, schools hosting their own little mini version of Stay Up, or even just incorporating it into an event that they already have going on and raising funds and raising awareness for YSB.
I was on your website, and one of the wonderful things that you do is you often share, these great stories, right? Positive stories, how you've turned lives around. You must have seen so many of these stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't really pick one out of my mind at this very moment. But I mean, even like you spoke about today, you come here and you have a colleague that shares me an absolutely beautiful story about their daughter and how they were supported by YSB. And even she was just saying that her daughter would love to speak to her circumstances and where she found herself, how YSB supported her. And from what her mom said, at least, she's very proud of her. She's doing incredibly well right now. And that always just warms our heart.
Let's remind people, this is going to a particular program, right? Just remind people about that program and some of the statistics, because I don't think people realize how many young people find themselves living on the streets in this community, right?
You're absolutely right, and it's hard to talk about, to be totally honest with you, but we have 1,400 homeless young people in Ottawa, generally at any given time. And I think for a lot of people, it's a really shocking number because you don't see as many young people necessarily right out on the streets as you might see with older folks. But the reality that you have is you have a large number of young people who are couch surfing. They're finding a place to stay for a night with a friend, but it's not a permanent situation. And what we really try and say is when you have the opportunity to house a homeless young person, it is the best opportunity to stop that cycle of ending up having a homeless adult.
Yeah,
so supporting our shelters and housing programming is absolutely critical to ending homelessness in Ottawa.
Absolutely. Oliver, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your time. Again, ysb.ca to register. We'll be right back.